This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, the ice Klingon crumbles.
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, sci-fi review and critique show that travels the galaxy by tube. I am Gep, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Isix.
Hi.
I just realized that to anyone in the UK, that just sounded like I said we go around on the subway. But,
Space subways.
but you know, they have a tube. That's the tiny torpedo tube thing that they
Yes.
fly around.
Yes, and the torpedo, it clearly goes through subspace.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting into some of the good parts of the season, because like by the end of season 2, they kind of finally had their shit down.
Unfortunately, there's only a couple episodes left after this one, so.
Yeah, but then there's another season.
Mhm.
So, you can always look forward to that.
Hooray! TNG starts getting good.
So we have the Emissary, which is completely unrelated to DS9, because that wasn't even like beginning to be conceived of yet.
Yes, it'll take a while. There's still is this whole Star Trek thing gonna like continue and work? People seem to be watching it, I guess.
Yep. Now it's one of those forever franchises that will and can never die.
Yes.
It is kind of weird to think about just how fragile it felt to everyone for so long, and now it's just like no, it's one of those cultural IPs that will be around forever.
I suspect it'll have times where it kind of falls apart for a little bit, but it's probably going to last a good long while. In fact, I was taking in a book the other day, and one of the sort of side jokes is like, wow, this guy actually knows about Star Trek. It's been like 200 years.
I guess it depends on when this current studio system boom of never making anything new peters out.
True, but I hope at the very least by never making anything new, they keep adapting books, and I get published and get movie deals before then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Assuming people still read,
Yes.
in 10 years, enough to recognize books. I don't know. I've found out about books from movies before.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of people who write things,
who's our writers? Yes.
This was written by Richard Manning and Hans Brimmer and Thomas H. Calder, because we had so many writers. There's three writers this episode. It's great.
For Thomas, this is his only, writing credit for movies and TV and things like that. But this was actually based off his, unpublished story. So, maybe?
Yes, as far as I can tell, since there doesn't seem to be a ton on him because, he wrote this one thing.
But that means this is technically an adaptation. So we should get Dominic Noble over here to talk about it.
Yeah. A lot of them are, if you look at it that way.
True.
Need to get that. Actually, I need to get that weird. That was the animated series one. That was the full adaptation of the weird sci-fi story, I think. Oh no, that was. Never mind. Sorry. Yeah, that was the Gorn episode. Was the adaptation of the weird sci-fi story where the aliens put people in a fighting pit.
So I believe at least one of the animated series was apparently also a ripoff of a comic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. But anyway, since we've been going on about DS9, Manning and Blemmer were co-producers for TNG for part of this and the third season, and they both did DS9 writing later. So, haha.
Hooray. Also, Richard Manning was apparently a producer for a little show called Farscape.
I need to finish watching.
The series ending is very kind of out of nowhere, but the follow-up movie is pretty good, except for the plot about the baby.
Oh, babies.
Well, it's not so much the baby itself, but the pregnancy. Anyway.
So we have some guest stars, ones that were here before, and ones that will be here again.
Yes.
So first we got Susie Flaxon back, but not as a Vulcan this time. She keeps coming back, but she only plays the same character twice.
Yes. A slowly evolving acting role will even show up in Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they're Andorian.
All over. But before, she played the Vulcan medical officer in Schizoid Man. In this, she is playing Kellar.
Kellar. But you know,
yeah.
Given Klingon spelling, it's a little weird to look at it. It's like, oh yeah, that is how you say it.
Yep. It's just Klingon name. Klingon name number 5. She'll come back with this character again. Then she will play the female Q in Voyager, and be in Enterprise, and later she'll be in the sitcom Mad About You, and she had a recurring character in How I Met Your Mother. She's been in a lot.
Yes. Here and there and everywhere. Code Blue, Judge Gama, Futurama.
Yep. Then we've got Lance Legault, who plays Captain Kitimak. So hard to not get into these. Kitimak. He's best known for his role in the A-Team, but he's been in everything from Wonder Woman to Knight Rider. He was just, around then.
Yes. So I was also in Mortal Kombat Annihilation as an Elder God. As you do.
Yeah. Everyone's been an Elder God. Who hasn't been an Elder God?
And Magnum P.I., Nightmare Beach, and Kidnapped an Airwolf.
And there's a bunch of other Klingons who have little bits. Finally, I think we've got Anne Elizabeth Ramsey, who's playing Ensign Clancy, who's just the person sitting at con because she was also on Mad About You with Susie Plaxton up here. And I just thought that was kind of fun.
So this is the Mad About You episode.
Yes.
And Mad About You, she plays Lisa Stemple. I've not really seen much or any of Mad About You. I just know it exists and have, when it was on, sometimes you'll watched it.
Yeah. I've not seen a single episode of that ever. I don't even know what it's about. So
I suspect there's someone who's angry about something.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Oh, it was in Castle for an episode. Huh.
So we open now with the staff playing poker, because this is going to be a motif that we keep coming back to. Mm-hmm. Worf is winning handily this time when they are suddenly called away by a Class 11 emergency signal.
No, that seems either very high or very unimportant, depending on how they rank these things. Because in Star Trek, sometimes one is like the most important, sometimes it's the least important.
Well, generally in military stuff, they do mark it backwards so that you are like able to tell at a glance very easily, and they just count down. Also, it's a little silly because you'd have to keep shuffling stuff around. Yes. It does make the most sense to say 1 is the most important, and then you just move out from there instead of defining some arbitrary number way down. You say the most important is number 20, and then you wind up with too many more kinds of important things. You have to shuffle stuff, and now the most important one is number 25.
Yeah, it gets a little awkward.
So it lets you just expand out, You get DEF CONs 17 through 18 later, and
the point in the emergence of the next major world conflict where people start eyeing each other in an annoyed fashion. That's DEF CON 18. And
so they get to the bridge where they were ordered to divert course with no additional information. Just go, be there.
Okay then. So guess we have a place to be.
Yeah.
All right.
They are eventually contacted by an admiral who just tells them that they will be rendezvousing with a special envoy who's traveling to them via Class 8 probe, which is just a very small Warp 9 capable box that you can fit a person in if you take all the other equipment out.
So basically, here's your breathing mask. Here's your heater. I guess you probably need an O2 tank and maybe an oxygen, an air scrubber, just so you don't get CO2 poisoning. And hope you don't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, we've shoved him in a spacesuit and then put that spacesuit in a box and then flung that box into the darkness of space.
Good luck. Hopefully you don't miss your rendezvous.
So they find the probe and beam it aboard. Riker meets the envoy, who is a Klingon woman. Well, half Klingon, as she identifies herself. Kalar. She's introduced to the rest of the crew, except that she already knows Worf, because I guess all Klingons know each other. God.
It's Especially ones that have spent any time on Earth. That means they're both best friends with Lana Torres, and I guess know the holograph Klingon that the Doctor and Voyager comes up with or has in his one program, and
also this is an interesting one. They never go into this stuff very much, but this in a military context is exactly why you never question higher up orders, because you don't know everything that's going on.
Yeah.
If you question why you're supposed to be at this place, this person flies by and dies in the vacuum of space.
It's like, well, you missed the rendezvous, so we don't know where they are now, and that means they're probably dead. Yeah. Also, it's been like a week.
So she finally explains why the Federation is sent her here and why they needed to, launch her by probe. That bit doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I think it's all sort of a, there's a timing issue. It's like, we want to make sure we get out ahead of this, like, right now, because, we don't know exactly all the details, given we were not given all the details, just a general vague, this is going to happen now.
The we need to rush really fast part makes sense, but there are other Warp 9 capable ships.
Ideally. Maybe the Enterprise was the closest one.
So, the Klingon ship that was sent out about 75 years ago has just sent out an activation signal, which suggests the crew have been asleep since the Klingon War.
So, quite a bit of a journey to be taken while in cryotubes. I guess they just assumed that the war would last forever, or they would have won by that point.
Yeah, or they were supposed to get there sooner.
Yeah. Oh no, someone forgot to turn on our engines.
So in a minute, they're going to have a ship full of angry Klingon warriors who don't know that the Federation is at peace now.
Yeah. Particularly with the Klingons.
And they will be in range of several completely undefended Federation colonies. There's a Klingon ship on the way, but it's 2 days behind.
So, I guess we gotta get there first, because there's kind of no one else to do this. Okay, well, these Klingons, they're probably a little antsy about being frozen, and maybe frozen for a little too long, and looking for a fight, because, they were looking for a fight probably when they left.
Yeah, and to them, they just woke up like 10 minutes ago, so,
Yeah.
So Troy shows K'Ehleyr around. They bond over being half human. K'Ehleyr meets Worf to plan their encounter with the Klingon ship. She wants to talk about their past and thinks Worf is unemotional and standoffish. It's like, Worf? No.
Who would have thought that? That's implausible.
She is also upset that no one on the ship is really on board with her let's just kill all the Klingons idea.
Well, this is straightforward, and it would give them an honorable death. It's also, just kind of killing a bunch of people that, they haven't really done anything yet.
And she's also kind of mad that Worf thinks there could be another option, because he should be Klingoning over there. So she runs back to her room, smashes a glass table with her bare hands. It's good job for thick Klingon skin, I suppose.
Yes. Well, maybe in the future, every bit of furniture is actually breakable furniture. So
it would save you some. It would save you some injuries.
Yes, though whenever the ship shakes due to inertial damper failures, it just means everything in your quarters has now been destroyed. So
really, what they've done is invent safety glass that shatters to look like regular glass, so you don't break the illusion. The real question is, why aren't they making things out of something other than glass? Like, you have much more sturdy, probably lighter, see-through materials by this point.
Well, maybe it's like some sort of smart super glass that it can be either impossible to damage at all, or if a fist is coming at it, it transforms its material properties to be instantly shatterable.
Yeah, that way you can break it in anger whenever you want.
Yes. and that way you don't hurt your hand by running into it.
So Troy shows up and suggests that maybe K'Ehleyr would like to try killing fake things in the holodeck instead of breaking real things in her quarters.
All right, that sounds fine. This holodeck you speak of, can I just create a bunch of Worfs and just beat him up for a while?
I mean, they never try that. One would think, like, this comes up a few times. They have a whole thing of how we never need to restrict anyone from doing anything because they wouldn't do anything wrong, which I can get on board with. But a few things later, they should maybe have some minor checks on whether or not you can make the computer create holodeck versions of your crewmates.
Yes. I guess, because, we definitely have an episode where that's happening. And then later, the same character also has a holographic version of Voyager he spends a lot of time with. That's a whole different series. That kind of freaks out an admiral who's like, you're role playing with my holographic version of my son. That's upsetting me. But on the flip side, we have that one instance of Tuvok having a holodeck program where he's, eating lunch, and then suddenly Neelix starts annoying him. So he murders the holographic Neelix.
Yeah. Well, you could just use it for catharsis, and then it should probably alert a counselor.
Yes. But I believe the counselor on the Voyager died on the first episode, so
yep.
This is all Tuvok has to get his anger side out, and blocking that off from his available options might be it might result in fewer crew members.
Well, especially since Neelix is the counselor.
Yes. Morale officer.
So Kalar finds Worf's workout program that we've seen before, and goes in.
Now, before you go to the full program there's also a listing of other quotes like your exercise programs that is it's a little hard to see, but it's there. And among them is a scuba diving program, the calisthenics program of Worf, of course, Shikar desert survival on Vulcan, carnival celebration, Rio de Janeiro, Earth. And, a couple others, and then, Dixon Hill, the long dark tunnel. It's like,
I mean,
sure how that fits in that category.
Does sound like it would give you a workout.
Yes.
I mean, Dixon Hill, the long dark tunnel is maybe just when he runs down a long dark tunnel.
Yes. There's a mystery you have to solve before you get to the end.
So this is the same workout program that we saw before with Worf and Riker. Kalar goes inside and finds a ridiculously large glove.
Yes.
This is a weapon or something.
It's so bad.
Now you're playing with power. Meanwhile, Worf is angry, and Picard orders him to relax, so he goes to the holodeck. But he finds that his program is already running. He watches Kalar fight. She makes fun of his program, and then he goes, "Computer, level 2."
Dun.
But now there's 2 players, so it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah,
harder.
There's 2 players, more dudes. They have weapons now, so you have to stab them and stuff. And there's kind of a cool moment where Worf cuts a guy diagonally, and he fizzles and things like that. And it's kind of cool stuff. As far as special effects of the time goes. And so they're eventually victorious.
They kill the people. They have swords. Then they attack each other. Fight for a minute. Draw blood. Fade to black. If they were human, this would be them laying in bed with cigarettes.
Yes. Before we go to this fade to black, there is a little sniffing at each other too. So they're obviously into a musk play, and so good on them for knowing what they like.
So they have a bit of a discussion about jokes and how Worf only talks when he has something to say. Not a bad policy overall.
And Worf, it's small talk is kind of pointless. Plus, I don't have any small talk to talk, so meh.
He says they say they could have done this 6 years ago, except Worf thinks that then they were too young to be married, and then he starts yelling something in Klingon, and Kalar goes, "Wait a minute, nope, we aren't getting married. That was not what this was."
But we're having mixed signals here. Oh no!
I wanted some Klingon D. I did not want this whole marriage proposal.
I didn't want the D ooh. That didn't work out very well.
Do you want to think about that joke for another second? So Worf's a bit pissed because I guess casual sex hurts his honor or something.
Yes. Never mind that other Klingons get up to it all the time, but
Worf is very. This makes sense for Worf's weird shit.
Yeah, he's once again being a complete weeboo, as they say, in terms of Klingon culture and things like that. Going with the perfect ideal that he has in his head, which says that honor is this, that, and this other thing. While the reality it's a little more complicated, but he's going to go with his version of things, and the consequences be damned.
So later on, Worf still needs to work with Kalar on their plan, so he brings in Data, because Data is the best chaperone.
She kind of calls him out on it, too. It's fun.
Yeah, but Kalar is just sort of mean to Data, who's just sort of amicably confused by the entire thing.
Like, people are being surly. How neat.
So she's finally ready to give her recommendation to the captain. Either they get there before the Klingons wake up, and then they just keep them from doing that until the other Klingons arrive and explain to them what's going on, or they kill them all. That's all. Those are our options.
Yes. So that kind of sucks still, and that means we need to find these guys sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah. Even if you disable the ship, the Klingons will just blow it up themselves. So
yes. So I guess at least at that point it sort of becomes like a prime directive thing, right? Because it's like, well, we disabled them, and then what they do internally, it's up to them.
Not our problem. We've got to respect their culture, their suicide-y culture.
Yes. Unsustainable murder cult comes back again, huh?
So for a moment, they get there, and it seems like everything's fine because the ship's not fully powered. But
yes, and we got some good stock footage from Star Trek: The Motion Picture kind of flying at us, so that's kind of cool.
You just need, you need warbirds. They all look the same.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to that. It's fine. Then the warbird shoots at them in cloaks, so they're probably awake.
Yeah. Either that or it has some sort of automated system or AI in charge that, keeps the sleeping Klingons safe. And, so we don't have to worry about anything, right?
Yeah, it's fine. And Geordi also can still detect them, even though they're cloaked, because it's a 70-year-old ship, and they've gotten a little bit better at this sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess there's always sort of an arms race when it comes to cloaking and detecting cloak stuff, kind of running throughout Star Trek. Like the Suliban cloaks in Enterprise, it's like, yeah, this is a problem. We can't see them. Oh, we found a device that can see them. Okay, well, I guess we just got to keep that thing mounted and we're good to go.
I just like this this whole solution they have here is, I mean, they could have gone even further with this at some point. Just like, this ship is 70 years old. This is the most advanced starship ever built. Yep. they aren't even going to dent our shields.
Yes. It's like, yeah, we know how to deal with this kind of disruptor blast. It's like a little energy drain, but it doesn't disrupt our shields at all.
So Kalar, of course, in favor of killing them all. She's like, at least they can die as Klingons, etc. But Worf has a plan. Because Worf plans.
Yes, because Worf has learned something about his time on the Enterprise, that sometimes there's more than one option.
So they overtake the Klingons and put themselves directly in their path, which tells the Klingons they can be detected and are probably in trouble.
Yes.
So the Klingons appear and fire, and the Enterprise hails them. And the captain of the Klingons is confused because Worf and Kalar in full Klingon uniform are on the bridge crew in the captain's chair.
Oh, hello there. What's going on here? I'm confused.
Captain Worf is quite upset that the warbird is firing on them because they are at peace with the Federation, and how dumb are you to think the war would still be going on after 70 years, you idiots?
You left yourselves in cryo freeze for way too long, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Ketamak does not know if he can be trusted, but Worf goes, I am on a Federation ship, you dingus, but I guess I'll just have to kill you. Fine. Mm-hmm. And
fire phasers, everyone. It's like, I guess we'll figure out what's going on so we don't die pointlessly.
Yeah. So Kalar prepares to beam over to Klingon ship and take command until they can be turned over to the Klingon Empire that's on its way. She and Worf admit they have feelings for each other, and their paths will cross again.
Yes, and they will.
Foreshadowing.
Dun, dun, dun.
Finally got Worf a girlfriend. They have been trying to get her specifically to be Worf's girlfriend for 2 entire episodes. I still say it would have been way more interesting if the Vulcan thing had worked out.
Yeah. And Worf having to come to terms with cultural differences, but also he's very restrained in a lot of ways, and that's something that Vulcans can really respect. So
Worf's sexy Vulcan girlfriend. That would be great. They could have all kinds of jokes. Data could be saying something about them going on a date, and you could just see them both sitting there staring at each other across the room, not saying anything.
I do not understand this mating habit of these two. Well, then Geordi speaks up, like, well, sometimes things when it comes to cross-species, interactions can be complicated or very simple. I guess they just like each other's company.
He could have gawk and eating live food is illogical. Yeah. There you go. Killing your food and cooking it before you eat it is inefficient.
Depending on your biochemistry, of course. So we've saved the day, and Worf has a love interest, and hopefully she'll be back for many, many, many more episodes, right?
Yeah, she wouldn't fridge. No one would do that.
Yeah. And in fact, I recall reading something at some point about they actually kind of felt they screwed up with what they did with her character the next time she shows up, because she was popular and is popular still.
But too late.
It's like, this is an interesting character that has an interesting dynamic with one of the series regulars. Keep them around. Come on.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah,
but that's for a future episode.
Yes, and if you are going to fridge someone, don't do it in the traditional ways. Always try to change it up so it's not just awfulness. AKA, someone's been put in the fridge, but they're not actually dead. They're just really cold.
Yeah, they just thought a nuke was going off. It's fine.
Yes. And now they're lost in space for 75 years in cryogenic storage. The space fridge.
So this is an interesting, because this is when they've started doing more Klingon-y stuff, because now they've got the movies going.
It's like, people know that Klingons have their own culture. They're not just the enemy that is over there.
Yeah.
We should explore that.
They sort of sprinkled in some bits and pieces with Worf, but they didn't really have anything codified until the movies started coming out. And then they had to now the Klingons are this different thing. They're their own thing. We have to invent a language, etc.
Something about honor, I guess, is a thing now.
Yeah,
so
they're basically
let's go with that.
They're basically a drastic Western misunderstanding of Japanese culture. But
yes, as that one musician, I think they're Voltaire, with leather pants, frizzy hair, and lobsters on their heads.
Yeah.
Yes. Heavy metal rockers for the dead.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into their weird misunderstanding of samurais for Klingons, but they try to do space samurais. I don't know enough about this. I would want to get someone whose actual culture this is to talk about that one, but... This what we got here is some really interesting immigrant dynamic stuff.
Oh, so immigrants that are frozen?
No, the other ones. These guys are just there. The frozen people are just space seeding over there.
Yes, but Kalar, a mixing of cultures and peoples, and someone who has two backgrounds. Now, in partial harmony and partially in conflict, and how they sort of react to it is their own business, really. But it does result in a broken table.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've got the juxtaposition between KLR as the half-human, half-Klingon who feels at war with herself and cannot fully integrate into either society. And you're juxtaposing her with Worf, who is full Klingon but raised by humans and has taken that excuse to basically fully commit himself to a Klingon identity to, as we will begin to see, utter absurdity.
Yes. To the point where other Klingons are like, tone it down.
Yeah. Because this is the this is kind of an interesting dynamic that they have here, because Worf has created his own belief system based on his own cultural heritage and history, which is a really interesting thing to do. It's also, as we will see when compared to other Klingons, very like Russian inspired, given who his Earth parents were.
Yes.
So he's mixed some of that in there, which is an interesting thing to get the influences on. And he is able to be incredibly hardline on it, to the point where he like sees very, very simple solutions to complex problems later, and like actually fully commits himself and believes in all of this stuff, to the point where he's made it work for himself. He's a like good person because of his honor code, and he helps others and does all of these really important selfless things because of this code of conduct that he's created for himself based on his cultural identity.
Indeed.
And
it's not honorable to slay the weak, so I'll like protect them and stuff. So there we go.
And the reason that he's able to fully commit himself to this is because from a very, very young age, he never really had it challenged by real world people who were also practicing any version of this.
Indeed. Yeah, he had his parents who were like, oh, good on you, kid. I guess keep going.
So yeah, he was able to create something that worked for himself. And K'Ehleyr, who had to try to bridge the gap between two worlds, is in the position where she sees immense problems and hypocrisy with both.
So I'm going to be all sorts of snarky and kind of poke fun at and holes at things here. And that just bugs Worf like crazy.
Yeah, she was either raised around humans who thought she was strong and angry because she was a Klingon, or Klingons who thought she was weak and human.
Yes. And perhaps a little bit of both at some point.
So she, interestingly, is in fact advocating for the more Klingon way of doing things, because she just sees the entire honor system as sort of stupid, and in some ways advocates for this let's just let them die the way they want to plan, because, you know, it's a stupid ideology. You don't have to think about it very hard. They're dumb and want to die in battle, so let's just do that.
Just give them what they want, and we don't have to worry about anything. And, you know, they're not going to complain about it, and no one else is going to complain about it, so what's the problem?
Yeah, where in the way that Worf is thinking about it, he has created a system by which he believes that that's wrong, both because of his Federation influences, but also because there's no particular honor in him destroying a 70-year-old useless warship.
Yes. Sure, there are warriors there, and sure, they're looking for a fight, but it's so mismatched, it's just absurd. They have no chance. It's basically a suicide mission if they try to attack the Enterprise.
Yeah, there's no particular reason to fight someone who can't fight back. What's the point?
Yes. There's no honor in the victory there, so I don't want to do it.
So it's an interesting thing to look at with the person who has fully embraced this to the point that they actually believe all of the stuff that you're not really supposed to believe. Because
the ideal that we put on the tin, but in terms of practicalities, no one actually follows that.
Yeah, this is actually a fundamental problem that you hit with extremist ideologies, because the person who believes the thing to the letter is always going to be a problem, because you say, we care about people and we're fighting for justice and democracy and etc. But you know that you need to make sacrifices and cut corners and do all these things. The person who believes it so fully that they're going to call you on doing that is actually a big problem for you running things.
Yes. It's like, I guess you're going to cause a problem now because we're trying to do the most practical thing that's going to do the least harm to people, because you have certain rules that you want to be followed.
Well, it goes both directions. You can have this person's trying to do something practical and this person gets in your way because they want you to follow the rules, but you can also have something with more of a cult akin mentality that is advocating for these things that they don't really expect you to do, Like, we're actually here to help people, even though it's basically an excuse we use for blatant paternalism and controlling people's lives. But then someone who believes in actually helping people looks at that and goes like, you're not actually helping anyone, though. Aren't we here to help people?
Yeah, what you're advocating here is getting in the way of your mission, but you are saying that by following what you are advocating, that is helping people, even if it's really not doing that. But there's, how do I get you to see that? That's maybe a more complicated question than we have time for here today.
Because if you look at the example that we're given in this juxtaposition, you have Kalar going, Klingon honor codes, which are dumb and I don't bother thinking about as a nuanced system that anyone believes in or lives by, say that dying in battle is good. So anytime we can kill a Klingon in battle, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Worf is like, actually believes in this thing more than most other Klingons do, as we'll continue to see, has a nuanced understanding of how this system both interacts with the way that the people on the other ships see themselves and how he sees himself, and how those two things correspond with each other in a complicated system that lets him think outside of this very simplistic understanding of the Klingon honor code.
Yeah, Worf was like, I understand that dying in battle would be honorable for them in terms of the immediate sort of vision they might have of the situation, but I also know that given the information that I have, that it wouldn't really be an honorable death. And plus, in terms of my own honor, there's, complications there. So it would probably be better for everyone's honor involved if we didn't just kill them. Huh. So,
Well, you can say that direction, because she's not very concerned with her own honor in the situation. Mm-hmm. She doesn't believe in it. Yeah. But it might be an honorable death for the people that you kill, because they went out fighting a large, unbeatable foe. But it's certainly not going to be an honorable victory.
Yeah. So, I will. It's in some ways, Kalar's position is the one where it's like, no one's going to complain if we do this, because to complain about it would basically mean that the Klingons that are complaining don't care about their honor or something. So we can kind of just get away with this.
But by the same token, Worf's complete obsession with his own cultural belief in honor doesn't bother to communicate with the person that he's having sex with, to the point that he decides that means a marriage proposal, because that's what he's decided that means culturally for him, without communicating that belief system to her in any way, which, that kind of thing you really shouldn't come out of left field for you. If you're in an intimate enough position where you are having sex with someone, you probably should be communicating with each other enough to understand what that means for each of you, so that nobody winds up in a disappointing or embarrassing position later.
Yes. Some Klingon marriages are fast in this franchise. Some of them are very slow in terms of getting to the point. But I am glad that Worf does eventually, I guess, chill out on this front. And it's like, I guess maybe I should go with the whole traditional Klingon marriage thingamajig, and actually do all the various ceremonies and stuff with my partner, who's down the line, Miss Jadzia Dax, and not just spring it on someone out of the blue, especially when that person obviously is not super into Klingon stuff.
Though they ruin his, I don't know, they do some weird shit with his character in DS9 that makes that not as straightforwardly better.
Yeah, plus there's some, some of it's played for laughs too, so.
Yeah. But you can look at this, because he, in this scene where he is, proposing marriage and saying it is dishonorable for, she's dishonored him, etc., etc., the fact that she's upset and runs off and they then have to deal with stuff later is what he uses to re-examine his belief system. Mm-hmm. Because one thing that we've consistently seen out of Worf so far is that one of the things that he immensely values is not dishonorably harming others.
Yes.
Which, you've now done. You've ticked someone off to the point that you can't even work together anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So if your belief system runs into that kind of issue, you either double down and say other people are wrong, or you do the thing that Worf's doing here and re-examine what part of your belief system is causing the problem.
So, pulling, this sort of out of the blue here, even though it did kind of feel like we're flirting, was maybe a little too much.
Yeah, maybe I made some presumptions about what this meant for everyone, and, I'm not the only one who gets to decide these things.
Yes, so maybe we should talk a little bit and sort out our actual feelings and,
And then you get to go, hey, belief system modified. Good job.
Hooray! I will now not jump instantly to conclusions on this particular front. Go me. Yeah, so that's Worf's internal honor system dealing with the different value systems of another person. Now, there is also more to be said about the Klingon honor system in total, especially when it comes to the practicalities, but we'll have plenty of time to sort of go into a lot of the details there. But suffice it to say, the version of Klingon honor that Worf runs around with is very much sort of his internal, sort of version. But there's also something to be said about, like, honor as in sort of the general acceptance of someone in a society.
Yeah.
And, the rules being sort of set up to sort of be like, yeah, these are the things you praise, these are the things you don't praise, et cetera, et cetera. And that's less about, finding one's own behavior as good or bad, but how are you going to fit into the group?
Klingon honor really has the same sort of function as Vulcan logic. Just a thing that they say, but you can basically use to justify anything.
A bit, yeah. Your internal, values and what you've already kind of wanted to see come out of the situation sort of taints a bit about how you're going to make use of the various levers of the argument on this particular front. And this is obviously going to be the honorable way to go forward.
It was super honorable for me to poison that guy because that means I get to be in a position of power and honor thing. So, overall the honor works out positively.
Yes, I was victorious in this battle of wits. You see, there's 2 cups in front of us. I decided to pick this one and take a drink. Oh no. They put the poison in both cups.
Grand Negus?
That would be an interesting sort of a Klingon version of the Princess Bride,
They would just kill each other.
Well, there's, make the man in black just Worf. Like, you have honored me with this battle, and by your surrender, I have vanquished you. But I feel bad about actually killing you.
Hey, yeah, it works right up until you get to that scene where he's like, there is no honor in mind games. He just throws a knife at the guy's head.
Now I'm going to be thinking about that all week. Anyway. So, what else do we got?
You could do a trailer with all of the Sherwood footage.
Oh, that's true. Worf running through the forest.
Being attacked by rats.
Cardassian voles or something like that. Because they're kind of giant rat creatures.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could make this work. Anyway, the only other thing we've got in this episode is literal sleeper soldiers, which are mostly there to make the plot happen. We don't know anything about why they did this. They had fully warp-capable ships 75 years ago, and we know the Klingons were just running around doing stuff. There's no particular conceivable reason they would travel in this way.
Would you say that it is inconceivable?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think that word means what you think it.
But I guess there might be like a whole bunch of things going on sort of behind the scenes in terms of the diplomatic situation with the Klingons, because it's like, yes, this is a priority, crazy 11 whatever thingamajig, you have to go meet up here, and the Klingons didn't tell us what the actual mission they were on was. So we just assume it was to attack something, maybe, et cetera, et cetera. And we're just going to leave out a bunch of details. In terms of the plot, the details don't matter. But it might be sort of implying that there was some grand strategy being put together by the Klingon Empire at the time that this ship was a key portion of. And either it's going off as, intended originally, but they kind of lost track of things in the decades that happened between point A and point B, or it was supposed to be like a 25-year trip, and they just didn't set their clock correctly.
Or they went off course or some such.
Yes. Yeah, send in a ship without their warp engines on, so it's much harder to detect. Turns on automatically when it reaches this destination, and maybe the original destination was like, would have been, like a 5-year journey, and the war is still probably going on at this point, since we've already, in one form or another. In fact, it might be one of those things where they send it out when there's sort of, a smell of a possible peace treaty happening. So it's like, we'll send these guys out now so that they attack after the peace treaty is signed, and if there's any sort of worries about, us, it's like, oh, we didn't violate the treaty. These guys are sent out before the treaty was made. So, it's totally not our fault now because we agreed to it, just they didn't. So,
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that we just sort of accept. Okay, big bureaucratic military organization doesn't want to tell anybody what's going on. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Instead of, why don't they just tell a colony what's happening? Like, what is...
Yeah.
Even if, like, everyone knows what's going on, even if this thing does attack a colony, it's not going to threaten peace with the Klingons, like one of the most lasting pieces we see in this show.
Yes.
It's like this has become one of their strongest alliances and an interesting little subversion of what they were doing in the original series.
Indeed. It's like, we'll kind of team up against anybody, and the only time we don't is because the Klingons wanted to team up with us again, and we didn't. So
you need one line from Data going, this was a very common battle strategy for 2 years during the Klingon War that they abandoned because it's utterly stupid to have one of your warships lie dormant for this long.
Yes. And, add in, something about, incorrect time clocks or whatever, and that everything kind of evaporates in terms of the mystery there.
Yeah, but small ice something or other hit their chronometer.
Yes, but sleeper soldiers and things like that. It does kind of remind me of those another sort of thing that's in terms of ideas sometimes gets pulled out of the Far East in Japan and things like that.
Is that the burying yourself in a big pot or something and then popping up after the enemy's gone by? I seem to remember that from something.
No, I was more thinking of unintentional versions of this. Japanese holdouts after World War II. Because, there weren't a ton of them, but there were, especially in the first couple decades after the war, they continued to sort of run into either small groups or, like just one guy who's got, kind of separated and isolated. It's like, obviously the war's still going on. That's why I've been sort of doing these hit and run guerrilla tactics for the last 20 years on some random island in the Philippines. Because, I can't really trust anyone that's around here because they're obviously going to be against me. And so, let's keep going. But, eventually, a number of them were tracked down and, surrendered or captured. And it's like, the war's been over for like 8 years, guys. Like, chill. And
yeah, that is going to be a problem with any war because you've disrupted your ability to communicate usually as part of doing war.
Yes.
And if you're out in the remote wherever, you're not going to get orders easily.
Some of these guys were still popping up like as late as the 70s too. So it's like, which one this is here? On Guam, which is, a U.S. territory these days. Sochi Yokoi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, was running around Guam for like over 26 years. And then, was eventually captured. So, it's like, stop doing stuff here, please. So, that was actually a real thing. And it's just kind of, weird, but it's also one of those things where you get very isolated sort of locales, like various islands, in the Pacific and the Philippines. I think there's one from Indonesia too, where you don't, with lines of communication sort of falling apart, and lots of propaganda going around, and not really a way for them to get off the island to go home and make contact with the other superiors and things like that directly. It's like I can't really trust any of this information that comes at me, so I have to sort of assume that things are still going on. And then once the war communications, are either not detectable at all, or because it's like, I've been living in the jungle for 10 years. I don't have a working radio. Or things kind of move on as far as the world generally, where it's not necessarily much coming out about, World War II, being broadcast to particular random islands in the Pacific. You get kind of this isolation where, you don't really know anything about going on. So you just kind of keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, of course, like in this, they said if anybody told them the war was over, they'd say you were lying, because of course you would say that. It's an easy way to get you to surrender when you're isolated.
And there were a number of instances, where I guess some version of, we're kind of tired of being stuck on an island, so if we see anyone, we'll kind of just surrender.
Yeah, if you don't even have anyone to attack, that's kind of just, you just live. Then you're just marooned.
Yeah. It's like in 1955, there were like 4 airmen who were at a place called Hollandia, which is, that's what was kind of being called at the time, because the Netherlands was kind of in charge of large sections of Indonesia at the time. It's now Jayapura, but they were like, yeah, we had a larger group here, and most of them didn't survive this last 10 years since the war. We'd like to go home, please. So we'll just kind of put out the white flag and hope for the best. Oh, and there was also a couple guys that back on Guam, 1948. They're like, "Hey, policemen, yeah, we're Japanese soldiers. We're gonna just surrender to you guys, because let's get us out of here, please." Yeah, but still sometimes there's in the 80s and 90s, there's still rumors and sightings and things like that, but nothing really confirmed as far as last holdouts decades down the line. But it is sort of, I guess, has a bit of truth to it, but kind of became a legend eventually. And so this episode kind of always reminds me of this sort of thing. You get the isolation of space as opposed to an island, and you might have a little bit more maneuverability once you sort of come to, but you're still sort of out of time and out of place, and not really connected to anything, and you don't really know what's going on. And anything you try to make sense of, if you open communications with this strange Federation future ship, you could be being lied to, perhaps, because clearly it would not make sense for the Federation to have Klingons on the bridge. Wait a second. Maybe there's something going on here that I'm unaware of. Did we take over the Federation? Sweet. I guess our job's done. Hooray.
Well, I do like the way that they just shocked them out of it with, well, that's weird.
Yes. Yeah, send in a familiar-ish face, and maybe you'll have a bit of luck. So, hooray! Yeah, holdouts, they're a thing.
That's so sad, because just get, forgotten. You shouldn't be forgotten like that.
Yeah, there's a good chance they probably were considered, missing in action, killed in action, some sort of classification like that, too. But then, someone's like, oh, yeah, I've seen this guy around. Keeps, shooting at us when we ever go this bit of the forest. So, yeah, could you, get him to move on, please?
Do you mind this guy's, he's waving a gun? Yeah. Scaring people.
And, there's not all of them made it back home. There was, some suicides and a little bit more fighting. And, there's still, but a good number of them were, surrendered and or captured, so they can get going to return, hopefully, to their previous lives or some such, but in a very different world. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. That was depressed. We always get somewhere depressing, even when it's just about immigrants.
But yep, when they got to go home.
Yeah, they do gotta go home. It's so sad.
That's a happy story.
Shouldn't leave them like that. But yeah,
Sure.
a lot of them got to go home eventually, and then hopefully rebuild their lives after all the war stuff.
Yes. Yeah, well. But it's still one of those weird quirks of how things can happen, you know.
Mm.
You know, not everyone makes it home because, because they're killed in action in a fight. Or they don't make it home because they were kind of forgotten. And that does kind of suck.
Yeah. This is sad now. Now I'm just sad.
Yeah, well, maybe we can cheer ourselves up.
Yeah, now we don't have a good segue, so, we can just go to the Galaxy's favorite game show!
Oh! Hey everybody, welcome to the Galaxy's favorite game show. Well, it seems that we have a lot of Klingons here today. They've been getting lots of points here and, swinging some swords in my general direction if I don't give them to them. So let's go ahead and start handing out the prizes so that I can, keep my head on my shoulders here. Anywho, the first one is the TV Love Story prize, which goes to Worf and Kalar. But, Klingon style. A.k.a. animosity until it's time to get busy and then confusion afterwards. What do they win, Gepwin?
They win their own sitcom, Mad at You.
Is it also going to have that one actress pop in as a main character for a while?
Yeah.
Excellent. Our second prize today is the Popsicle prize, which goes to the crew of the Tong, the Klingon battlecruiser there, for their ill-conceived mission deep into Federation territory that only took 75 years to make, and where no one thought maybe the status quo would be radically different by the time they arrived, or maybe something else is going on. We don't know. Anyway, what do they win, Gepwin?
They get a fun robot friend to tell them about the future and be a general bad influence, and then they get to go on wacky adventures that comment on the era that they came from, but through a futuristic lens, which is probably mostly murder. It's also pretty lucky that these are the ones that still had the head ridges, because otherwise they'd just be really confused.
Yeah, well, the Klingon forehead club for everybody, really. They went through that program and we're good to go. But it does kind of feed into my fan theory about the Klingons. Anyway, the final prize today is the Suddenly Marriage prize, which goes just to Worf for going from a sudden hookup where instincts drove their actions and all that to kicking off the marriage oath. And it's like, come on, Kalar, let's do this. And why are you running? Yes. So what does Worf win for being kind of clueless?
Worf gets to go teach sex education in the U.S. because he's obviously a fan of abstinence only or you get married and die style education. Yes.
So Worf, have fun running a school somewhere in Oklahoma. Well, things got depressing again, what, Kepwin?
Yeah.
Oops.
It's like, you will not have sex, or you will swear a blood oath and dishonor your family.
So, be careful there, kids. And, don't let yourself, drive your fingernails into the palm of your hand too much, because otherwise you'll wake up in the morning with a smile on your face, perhaps, but then the sudden realization that you're going to not Stovocore, the other place there.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Hang out with Meklar, was it?
Yeah.
Something? But yeah.
The place and the guy sound really similar.
Yeah.
The
drooling.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
Klingon afterlife guy. Yeah.
Drooling devil dude.
Feklar? Anyway, that's all I got here today, Gepwood.
That's a different
Take us away.
Yes, thank you, Klingons and everyone else for joining us on the Galaxy's favorite game show.
Oh no, I forgot to do the thing.
Yeah? New thing?
Yes. Dun 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 dun.
Well, there you go. Now I will definitely not be too lazy to edit that back in somewhere. I'm sure you've been hearing that all through the episode.
Yes.
Whenever the
over
Klingons
and over
show
again.
up.
Yes. And then Kalar comes in. Dun 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 dun. Yeah. So, what do we got on tap next?
Now we move on to what was one of my favorite episodes for a while. It's a little dumb, but I've always enjoyed this style of episode, which seems to be in just in everything for some reason. It's a very popular episode style for this kind of TV, especially in the 80s to between the 80s and the early mid 2000s.
An episode where you find yourself in charge of a broken down spaceship and have to get it working?
Yeah, the War Game episode.
Yeah.
This one's going to be Peak Performance, which is the War Game episode where Riker is put in charge of his own ship and has to fight the Enterprise, and this annoying dude plays not chess.
Yes. The Kohlrami. Which I actually like Kohlrami as a character.
Yeah.
I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap from especially Pulaski especially, that he might come off as slightly arrogant, but everyone else is like, oh, this guy's just so arrogant. Not really.
A little. But
he's confident, I guess, and he knows his abilities, and is trying to sort of pull out the best from the people around him. That's he's there to teach, and he has stuff to teach people. So
he's standoffish.
Yeah.
And I really like the actor. I really like the actor playing him.
Yes.
He does a really good job with this weird alien.
Yes. He's Roy Brocksmith is kind of awesome like that.
Yeah, we've already seen him in things, as we'll get into later. But he's been in movies we've seen.
Yes. He's also been in Babylon 5, but we could talk more about that next time.
I'm sorry. I was just randomly looking at the filmography here, and one of his things from the late 90s is Psycho. I think it's one of the weird remake ones. Psycho, man in cowboy hat outside realty office. Uncredited.
I guess they just needed extra.
Yeah, he just wanted to be there. Just happy to be here. Man in cowboy hat.
Do you want to be in Psycho? Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, this is the War Game episode, which they had in this, they had in Stargate. They just love themselves a good War Game episode.
Yeah. It's like, we're gonna fight, but we're gonna pretend at it, so we can all be explaining what we're doing and why we're doing it, in order to get people to understand the nuances of the action. So I guess it's maybe in the sort of same super genre as a heist movie in the Ocean's 11 style.
Yeah, it's just a fun you get to enjoy all of the stupid fighting bits that they do, instead of it being life and death or, oh, we shouldn't kill anyone.
Yes. So, we're going to take out the stakes for this, but there's going to be stakes of different sorts.
And then also we see a board game with the most unintuitive, ludicrous controls.
Yes. It's like a 3D Snake, but you're against another person at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, sort of. It's weird. It's so weird. This could never work. It looks like learning how to control the board would be half of the thing you needed to do.
Yes. But, I do think that it's one of those sort of things that I do hope someone comes up with a version for VR, because it is just so ridiculous.
I'm sure somebody has. Must be.
Hopefully.
But yeah, next we've got
we don't know.
Peak Performance, where a dude with gills is a little bit snooty at everyone.
Mm-hmm. Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, a challenge. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.